Namaskar. We would like to welcome you all on behalf of Independent Research Ethics Society, AYUSH Samriddhi International webinar series at milestone of 2840. Thank you. Thank you for being our guide, mentor during this journey. Today, we are celebrating World Wildlife Conservation Day. वन्यजीव संरक्षण करें, wildlife conserve carefully. To guide us on the topic, Dr. Suparna Sanyal Mukherjee, Madam, and Dr. Sakat Kumar Basuji is with us. I welcome both the speakers on the
Thank you,
day.
Sharma. Thank you, Sharma. Madam is joining in 2 minutes. She will start. Give her 2 minutes.
No problem. I will start.
Thank you.
So before calling the speakers, I would like to share my thoughts, though I am not expert of the line, but
Please do. It will be greatly appreciated. Yes.
so presentation, this wildlife conservation refers to the practice of protecting wild species, as we all know, and their habitats in order to maintain healthy wildlife species or populations and to restore, protect, or enhance natural ecosystem. Introduction, as we know, major threats are there: habitat destruction, degradation, fragmentation, overexploitation, poaching, pollution, and climate change. The IUCN estimates that 27,000 species of the ones assessed are at risk for extinction, expanding to all existing species. A 2019 UN report on biodiversity put this estimate even higher at million species. Million, just see. So, threats are there. In short, threats are there. Today we are celebrating Wildlife Conservation Day, World Wildlife Conservation Day, December 4th. But today is December 9th due to our busy schedule of the webinars. So habitat destruction decreases the number of places where they can live. Habitat fragmentation breaks up a continuous tract of habitat, often dividing large wildlife population into several smaller zones. Human-caused habitat loss and fragmentations are primary drivers of species declines and extinctions. Deforestation, I am not going to detail, two speakers are just after me. Overexploitation, poaching, it is illegal wildlife trading, smuggling we can say. Threats to wildlife, culling, it is the deliberate and selective killing of wildlife by governments for various purposes. Shark control. In some countries, just recently, they brought some Neola and some Sakarji was telling, I hope. So they will be guiding us on that. Pollution, it is the biggest factor. Climate change, definitely we are. So purpose to maintain ecosystem, definitely. Otherwise, our earth will be lost. Human population increase, ecosystem will be disturbed. Ecosystem will be disturbed. So, the vast expanse of tropical forest and so many regions are there. In short, we have to conserve our wildlife, definitely. So, protection of natural habitat, wildlife habitats are not stable. Changes occurring in habitats is mainly due to biotic succession, retrogression, and other certain natural or man-caused disturbances. Fire, flooding, pollution. Conservation method, protection through legislation. So, So many rules are there. Directive principle of state policy, inclusion of forest and wildlife in concurrent list, Act to protect wildlife, Indian Wildlife Protection Act 1972, amended by N91 also. Mass education, very necessary to the local habitats. Maintenance of viable species in protective area. अब तो उल्टा हो रहा है, तेंदुए घुसे चले आ रहे हैं, कोई बाघ ले जा रहा है, कोई तेंदुआ कुत्ते को ले जा रहा है। तो ये तो पूरे के पूरे आज हम एंक्रोच कर रहे हैं उनकी जगह को, वो हमारे घर में घुसे चले आ रहे हैं। टू डिक्लेयर सम एनिमल, ट्री, फ्लावर एज नेशनल एंड स्टेट सिंबल, हम लोगों ने किया ही है। ये लिस्ट है जूलॉजी बॉटनिकल सर्वे ऑफ इंडिया, बीएसआई एंड जेडएसआई जूलॉजिकल सर्वे ऑफ इंडिया, नेशनल ब्यूरो ऑफ प्लांट जेनेटिक रिसोर्सेस एनबीपीजीआर and NBRI, allotting 4 species to each of 27 states and to India. इंपॉर्टेंस है ही, हम जानते हैं, बच जाएगी पृथ्वी जी। उनके अब काजीरंगा, वो आसाम में, बंगाल में हाथी आते हैं, उनका आने जाने का रास्ता है, उस पे यदि आदमी ने मकान बना लिए तो उसमें हाथी क्या करेगा बेचारा, कुचलता निकल जाएगा और क्या कर सकता है। अब इम्पोर्टेंस क्या है इसकी, ब्यूटी, इकोनॉमिक वैल्यू, टिम्बर, फर, टस्क, आइवरी, लेदर, हनी, साइंटिफिक वैल्यू, जीन पूल फॉर साइंटिस्ट, maintain ecological balance, ecotourism, and we have already discussed the cause. Just see the graph of this. All habitat loss is the great, means Wildlife Protection Society has given this number. So these number are increasing. Deforestation, just see the example of that. There are now 20% less forest cover than existed 300 years ago. Means we have just destructed 20% of total inheritance. Poaching and hunting is there. Too much cost. Poaching in US dollar 2 billion to 3 billion. So they are just destructing animals. Habitat loss and fragmentation. National and international wildlife pet trade, fur trade, meat trade, body part trade, trade for biomedical research. Fur is my murder, save my skin. Just see the quote. Other causes we have already discussed. Farmer and rancher shooting, effects of wildlife depletion, unbalanced food chain and ecosystem, reduction in rare wild animals, danger to human life, impact on biodiversity, loss on economic value, lost genetic information. So, there were more than 500 species of mammals, 1220 species of birds. This is our past. 1600 species of reptiles and amphibians, 57,000 species of insects. It was there. Now, the flora and fauna wild species today is declining rapidly. Possible extinction is possibility for over 77 mammals, 72 bird and 17 reptile species and 3 amphibian. Now extinction is there. Large amount of butterflies and beetles which are considered they are in danger zone. Rapid growth in industrialization had done great job for destruction, and wildlife of India is on the mercy of human beings as the mortality rate of animals is increasing due to of health. Just see the endangered species of our animals. Majestic elephant, the Indian bison, spit hare, snow leopard, swamp deer, blue whale, desert cat, leaf monkey. What we have left? These are the endangered species of plants. So many means species are endangered. These are some Berberis, Aristata, Cycas, Pterocartus, Centellinus, red sandalwood. Everything is in danger. So destruction, we are knowing this, why this is done. Unwantedly, I am not going to repeat it. Government role, Project Tiger is started from 72, Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Forest Protection Act 1888. So Project Tiger, thank you very much. I am not going to tell because researchers are there. Now I would like to request Dr. Suparna Sanyal Mukherjee Madam for her valuable blessings to the platform.
Very good evening. Thank you. Thank you very much for giving me another opportunity. It's a very important topic and burning topic right at this moment because we are suffering and our wildlife is really deteriorating and it is endangered. For all the cases we have seen that the wildlife, how the wildlife is deteriorating, uh, and their extinctness is also harming us and harming our natural resources. I'm trying to share the screen. I don't know whether it will be following up or not. But here, is it visible here?
Yes, very clear.
Okay. So there is a main objectives for the wildlife preservation and wildlife protection, and which is very important part of our life. So why the wildlife protection and wildlife protection is essential? Basically, the wildlife protection and wildlife conservation is according to Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, which has been explored that animals, bees, butterflies, and the other moths, then the vegetation, which are also suffering from this wildlife, especially the butterfly. And our next speaker, who is very eminent person and the specialist of the bees, which is also is under the Wildlife Protection Act, and it is also very important for the aquatic and vegetation culture, which has been protected by these bees and the pollination, and the bees are the pollinator, and we have to be save the bees and the pollination. So while it refers to living organisms like the flora, fauna, and their cultural habitats like the lion, deer, crocodiles, all the wild animals like the elephants, all are included in this Wildlife Protection Act 1972. So benefits of the wildlife. Wildlife is an essential component of various food chains, food habits, geochemical cycles, energy flow, and the various aspects like the to control the food chain. At the same time, the maintain the eco balance and preserve the vitality and health of environment and provides the sustainability of the various ecosystem and the species. So it is very important part of us, that is the how we can protect this wildlife. This why we needed this wildlife. So we should know that the wildlife is a symbol of national pride and the cultural heritage, especially not only the India, the all over the world, each and every country, they have the symbol of national pride. So over 100 years ago, there was 1 lakh tigers across the Asia, but now the number is only 5,000. And the scientists and medical researchers also uses the wildlife animals as the research materials on their trial experiment and the performed before the actual applications of human beings. And especially we have seen that there is a tiger project, lion project, the elephant project. The government of India is taking very initiative for these purposes. And aesthetic value, basically coming for the threats of the wildlife, it is very important part of us. We have seen in the Hindu god and goddesses there is a symbol of animal. Each and every god and goddesses there is a animal. Like Ma Durga, there is a lion. Like the Kartikeyo, there is a peacock. So the Ganesha, there is a chuha. These are the animals. These are very important. This specific characteristics is very important. Just because if we can see that the lion is, the king of the jungle, the king of the forest. So there is a when it is comparison with the strength of the Ma Durga. So there is a lion have a strength. So each and every animals is very important part of our life. That's why we have inculcated our myths, our rituals, our customs, our deity, our cultural heritage also signify this the animals with this god and goddesses. If we can signify this animals importance with the god and goddesses, then only we can taking care of those animals, because we are very selfish, because we whenever we need especially we means the human beings are very selfish. Whenever they feel and whenever they know how to cook it, so they can kill the animals and they will eat it. So because it is also created very harmful situation of the nature spirits, those animals are endangered. And in case of that, the wildlife threats, specifically the pollution, then habitat loss, then the indiscrimination of hunting. So these are also included, but the wildlife protection has created a very meaningful situation for this wildlife. And in case of this, the wildlife, the trading is also going on, because habitat destruction, wildlife conservation is needed, and deforestation, the overpopulation, over exploitation, poaching, ocean acidification, these the forest acidification, these all are the causes for the harmful behavior, habitat, harmful habitat of the wildlife. So they are not sustaining. We have seen in the Amazon forest where the fire was happened, those wildlife animals was died, and they are also suffocating and they are suffering, and there are so many loss of the wildlife animals we have seen. So there are so many national parks, especially the Indian subcontinent. We have seen in the 2012 there was a 102 national parks, and in the Jim Corbett National Park, Uttarakhand, which has been established, especially the 1936, and protection of the tigers. So each and every national park is made on the basis of this the animal importance and the protection. So there is the important national parks like Jim Corbett, the Kaziranga, then the Hazaribagh, then the Sundarban Tiger Forest, then the Gir National Park. These are all the parks are very important for the each and every animals, and they are preserving in this national parks, and it is also situated various places of the Indian subcontinent. And wildlife sanctuary is also giving us the protection of the especially the 492 wildlife area area is being covered. So there is a the national sanctuaries and the national parks, which is also giving us the protection of the animals, which is very good for us, and which is also the food chain. And biosphere reserves is also very important for the wildlife protection and conservation. There are the 18 biosphere reserve are there, and which is also maintaining, and they are establishing the wildlife animals, and they are giving the habitat of the wildlife animals for this the protection of that. Conservation measures also, the conservation strategies should have been followed, and it has been those animals are the threatened, those animals are not yet been taking care of the this conservation measures also taking care of these animals, and they are protected. So International Union on Conservation of Nature and the Natural Resources, which has been the IUCN red list threatened alert over there. There are so many animals those who are threatened. In Indian subcontinent, the II is very endangered species. You would not find it out this II, And this is a very important part because they are included in the order primate, and this II is a very essential part of us, and we have to restore it not only in the zoo garden, but we have to restore their natural habitat. And this habitat we have to create, and we have to restore this natural habitat for their breeding properties. They are surviving, and they should breed, and they should live naturally. And the extinct species like dinosaurs, though the natural calamities over there, the ice age, when the ices were there, the dinosaurs could not be survived. So dinosaurs is extinct. The gigantic figure has been extinct. The endangered species like tiger, the red panda, these are the very endangered species right at this moment. And vulnerable species like this, leopard, and the tigers, these are the very vulnerable species. And rare species like the white lion, it is white lion, that is the albino lion. It is a very rare species right at this moment. So these have to be conserved, and these have to be measured, these have to be giving the natural habitat. The other measures taken for the wildlife conservation, like this breeding program for the endangered species, the prevention of poaching, hunting, and biosphere, that is also very important for the giving the protection of the development of the ecosystem, like this Forest Conservation Act 1980, National Forest Policy 1988, and Wildlife Conservation Protection Act 1972. There are four national forest policy have been implemented till today, like this 1894, which has been the British regime, then the 1952 national forest policy, the after the independence, then the 1988 and 2014 national forest policy, giving and restoring the wildlife for their betterment of the livelihood status. And Forest Conservation Act 1980 also giving the control and regulate the grazing land. They are also taking target the one third of the land should be covered by this forest. So that's why the more preservation and more natural habitat should have been created by this conservation of the wildlife. And Wildlife Protection Act 1972, what was the main objectives to the prohibition on hunting of specified plants and animals, and setting up and management of the national parks and wildlife sanctuaries, control of trade and commerce. Especially, we have seen there is the skin, which was export by this the wildlife skin. It is very expensive, and this has to be protected, and this has to be stopped by this the Forest Act and Conservation and Wildlife Protection Act. And international rules and laws also giving us the Convention of the Wetlands and International Importance Prohibition Act, IUCN, also giving such protection for this wildlife protection, because wildlife is very important part of our life. And without wildlife we cannot survive, because each and every animals are very important to us, and we need these animals. And we have, if we are placed in the animal kingdom, those animals are also placed in the animal kingdom. Though the surviving through evolution for the development of our brain, we are the topmost position of the animal kingdom, but the other animals are a very important part of us, because without them we cannot live. So each and every animals are very important and useful for us, for the biodiversity, maintenance of environmental strategy, the conservation, restoration. Those are very important part of that. I also appreciate this Ayush Shamriddhi, who has been taking initiative for this wildlife protection, because if the wildlife is there, that means the Ayush is there, because these animals are also depending upon the Ayush medicines, because they don't know any allopathic, they don't know any homeopathic. They are also depending upon the natural resources. If they are suffering from any kind of diseases, they are also depending upon the plants. So Ayush is also very important, and wildlife appropriate right at this moment through this the plant kingdom. So wildlife protection is also very important. also protection of the flora. Just because we are sustaining, just because we are taking our medicines, we are getting our medicines for this flora, and this flora and fauna is very important part of our life. So wildlife protection is very important right at this moment. Thank you very much. Thanks for giving me such an opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
a
you
lot.
very much, madam. So nice of you. Nice presentation. You have excellent, excellent, madam. Now I would like to request Dr. Sakat Kumar
Thank you.
Basuji.
Thank you.
Dr. Sakat Kumar Basu.
Thank you, Sharma ji.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Sharmaji. Once again, back on this platform, it's a pleasure. I have been listening very keenly to both the presentation by Professor Sharma as well as Suparna Sandal Mukherjee, madam. And I'm thrilled to say that both of you mentioned that you are not a subject expert, but the very nice way and summarize that you have provided, you have already won my heart. So it means you will have impacts on others. So Ayush Samriddhi is not only diverse in the subject, the experts are multifaceted, multi-talented. So hats off to you. It's not even in your special area, you have very beautifully highlighted. And it is important that people outside the domain of the research and subject area take interest, because then you know that we are able to, provide the mass communication regarding wildlife to others. So I'm not going to repeat the points that Professor Sharma has beautifully illustrated, and Madam has painstakingly maintained every single detail of modern wildlife conservation with emphasis to India. I'll only highlight the points that has not been covered as a source of information for our viewers. So one of the important things that we need to highlight about the wildlife conservation, number one, is that poaching is deadly and dangerous in that particular sense that there is a very strong international hand behind this. What I mean to say about this is that uh, countries, there are many countries, say for example in some parts of Africa, some parts of Vietnam and China, as well as Indonesia, where bushmeat is a popular part of the people's diet. What it results in is that a significant amount of wildlife is not only killed in those countries, but because of the support of these governments, huge number of trafficked wildlife, body parts, products, meat, fur, feathers, different body parts, gallbladder, etc., everything is transported to this country, and China is one of the biggest beneficiary of this system because they are spending millions of dollars and they are earning in billions of these black industries, black market of wildlife, both fresh live wildlife as well as dead ones. It is a part of their diet, it is a part of their traditional jewelry making, it's a part of aphrodisiac production from rhinoceros horns and stuff, and spurious, which has no scientific basis, using tiger teeth, bones, skin, furs, etc., for various disease and treatments, where modern research has been indicating that there are no values to these animal parts in the medical treatment of individuals. But these Chinese traditional medicine dependent on this animal, and because of this high thrive and the support of the government behind the curtain, the wildlife trade in China is going amiss, and it is dragging wildlife from all parts of the world. This is dangerous and is impacting wildlife. Number one. Number two is that there are many species are getting extinct also because of a particular challenge that we are seeing. Say, for example, in India, is the feral dogs. Recently there has been a lot of controversy over the release of judgment by the Supreme Court in removing street dogs from Delhi. Some has supported it, some has criticized it for various reasons. But with respect to wildlife, these dogs, particularly the feral dogs, are turning out into a very dangerous situation. I will give an example. Say, for example, for many forests which adjoin many villages, sometimes the animals during migration are accidentally being chased by other animals and stuff. Sometimes they come close to the forest. And particularly if these are vulnerable animals, like if it is an elephant or a rhinoceros that comes into the village, or a tiger or a leopard, the dogs will never, venture to attack. But say, for example, the red panda, which has come down from the bamboo forest and is walking from one area to another, or a wildcat, or a small deer, or some birds, if they get close to the villages, there has been repeated incidences of where we find that wild dog, not wild dogs, I'm saying domesticated dogs or feral dogs, like which are part of their villages and stuff, are attacking this wildlife and killing them. If a villager could have spotted the stray animal or a bird, he could come easily inform the local forest offices or the beat offices, and they take care of the animals and release them back into the wild. But it is very challenging to mention, or very interesting to mention, that many times they do not get this opportunity because, say, for example, a nilgai cub or a nilgai calf has come into the town or come into the village area. The dogs are attacking them in huge numbers and killing them. Or a wild boar has got out of the jungle and has ventured into the village, and they're attacked by 10, 15 dogs and they're killing them. This is very dangerous. Or a bear has moved in and they're attacked. Now, these vicious attacks are leading to the loss of wildlife, and many vulnerable species are being pushed towards extinction. This is very important, that needs to be taken care of. And it's very, very challenging in the sense that the wild dog amaze in the rural areas is increasing and it needs to be immediately put in. And the last part is what to do with conservation. Now, humans have destroyed wildlife, as you have very nicely explained, but it is the responsibility of humans to regenerate the forest and to return the wildlife. So, we always have to remember that in the equation of wildlife conservation, there is one constant factor, and that constant factor is human. As if we do not include the local villagers, if we do not include the local people who resides in and around reserve forests, sanctuaries, or bioreserves, then no conservation effort is going to be successful. And if these people who live close to the forest do not get any return from the conservation efforts, they will not be very much interested in working towards protecting these wildlife species. So one of the very successful model that we have seen about this is the Kaziranga Wildlife Sanctuary, as Professor Sharma mentioned. The humans, the people around them, you were used in poaching. They used to ask as a resource person for poachers who would come in from other across Burma or other countries or from Bangladesh. But now, because this conservation effort has included the local people, they are a part of the forest guard. They are working as a this kind of they are parts of integration into the society, and working as forest labor, working as forest contractors, working in cleaning of the forest, or working with conjunction with the forest guard in the protection of the forest. And because many tourists are coming to these places, so there has been a lot of opening and reestablishment of what we call ecotourism sites, where the local villagers are part of this and they are earning some money from this process. And through this, Kaziranga Wildlife Sanctuary has turned into a global model where the rhinoceros numbers have surged, the number of poaching have reduced, and the villagers have taken pride and participation in the protection of the wildlife. Similarly, in Nagaland, there were many Amur falcon that used to migrate through Nagaland, and people used to kill them and eat them. But because of this constant education and awareness, and the people now have been involved with the conservation part, many villages in Nagaland have won conservation awards for protecting the same bird that they used to eat. These are good spot to understand and realize that we have to include Aboriginal communities or the tribal communities or the fringe forest dwellers, forest residents, or people residing in villages close to those forests as a part of the stakeholders in the process of wildlife conservation and forest conservation. Unless we include them, it will be a challenge to successfully work out for wildlife conservation. With this, I conclude my presentation here. Thank you once again, Professor Sharma, for giving us this opportunity. And once again, congratulations to both Professor Sharma and Sanil Mukherjee, Madam, for providing such a beautiful presentation and highlighting on areas where they humbly said that they are not experts. You are experts, sir. We have to learn from you. Thank you very much. Sharma ji, once our soil day program is done, we'll stop the live streaming. We'll have a little 5 minutes discussion with you, me, and Madam
Definitely,
on our
definitely.
the upcoming conference that we discussed. Okay, thank you so much.
Just a sec,
After the
just a
soil,
sec.
after we have discussed the world soil part, just stay for 5 minutes. Okay, okay. Thank you. We can now change to the next one. Yes.